Let's complete the final step of graphing a histogram. So this last step involves us actually plotting the data on the graph. And just before we do that, let's make sure we're clear that the bars should be rectangular, just like the examples we've seen previously. So here we have our binned data that we did back in the first skill of this section, and we've got our titled graph and our axes labeled from the second video, and now here we go, we're ready to plot everything. So the first time we have data is in the 20 to 29 bin, so that's here to here, and the frequency is 3. So we're going to create a rectangular bar that's 3 high and goes between 20 and 29. And we've done it. That checks off the first bar in our histogram. Then 30 to 39 is 4 high, so 4 high is going to be here. And there's the width of our bar. And then 40 to 49, we get this big spike up to 10 at the very top. So there's our bar for 40 to 49 minutes. And then all of a sudden we drop way down to 2 for 50 to 59. And 60 to 69 drops all the way down to 1 minute. And there you have it. That's the final step to drawing a histogram. And now if you want, we can also shade in the bars so that the histogram is just a little easier to read. And we're done our histogram. Now that we've completed our histogram, the important last step is to use it. What does it tell us about grade 12 homework? Well, it tells us that most students spend about 45 minutes per night on homework. It tells us that one student spends quite a bit more than the bulk of students, spends more than an hour each night on average. What does the histogram fail to tell us, though? Well, it fails to tell us who is spending that time. You know, it doesn't tell us, is Jim spending the right amount of time, or is he spending too little or too much? And it also doesn't tell us whether or not this homework time is effective. You know, are students benefiting from spending this much homework? Are they doing too much? Are they doing too little? So it doesn't tell us how that homework impacts student grades. So this first one was the tells us, and the red here was fails to tell us. We can estimate the mean from the graph. I would say that it's about 45 minutes. And we can determine the mode. The mode is between 40 to 49 minutes. Because this is a nice centralized histogram with a really big spike in the middle, the mean and the mode line up really well together. So the last thing I wanted to show you was what it would look like if we chose bins of 5 minutes instead of choosing bins of 10 minutes. And so the first thing you'll probably notice is that there's some gaps in the histogram where there weren't gaps before. And the numbers on the frequency are smaller because we're not grouping when we have bigger bins, we're grouping more numbers into fewer bins. Here we've split apart those numbers into more bins. So you can also see that now the one student who's spending 66 minutes on average doing homework each night, it shows that it's a little bit more of an outlier than we previously saw. So that tells us a little bit more information there. But really, the shape of the graph is still quite similar, though these values are still centered around the same number of minutes. And so really, I think both graphs are equally valid. This one would require a little bit more work because you'd have more bins. If we were to use this other one to estimate the mean and determine the mode, I would say we can get a little more precise and probably say that the mean is slightly lower than 45 minutes, maybe closer to 42 minutes, just because you see that there's more data sort of to the left of that. And determine the mode, we would say it's 40 to 45 minutes. So again, you see that we get a little bit more precise with our bins that are smaller, but we also lose some of the ability to see the bigger trends when we have too many x-axis bins.